Yo everyone, this is Julie and today we're back with even more Mage Wars. In this game that you see, I am playing the Necromancer versus SirJasonCrage, who is playing the Warlock. This is our match from the group stage in the Mod Wars tournament, and it's a really good one, I think. So, my book is basically brute force Necromancer, you could say. So the brutes are very powerful with rules as written, and I'm opening with a graveyard. It's over here, and a blur. The blur gives you a mage. The obscure trait is basically a cheap shadow cloak, and the graveyard, I choose the graveyard over the Libro to go with my zombies here because I usually want to center the game around a creature fight, and whenever a creature is killed I will get extra mana on the graveyard, so that helps me in the long run. It's basically it's just some more channel in the rounds where you manage to kill something. So because the Mod Wars tournament obviously grants every mage 10 channel, so Jason starts with 10 channel 2 and he moves one down, drops a pentagram and a mana shard. The pentagram is very strong with Mod Wars rules because ethereal was changed, the ethereal trait was changed because the pentagram is an incorporeal object, so you want to hit it with ethereal attacks. And with the rules as written, the ethereal attacks are way more powerful, dealing on average almost twice the amount of damage as with the ethereal trait in this Mod Wars tournament. So basically the pentagram gained double health, arguably, in this Mod Wars tournament, and this is why he can't afford to put it that offensively in the near center here. We see a Firebrand Imp from SirJason and a Zombie Brute Eternal Servant from my side. When it comes down to which creature you want to put your Eternal Servant token on, since this is a reusable ability, it doesn't matter too much on which creature you will put it on, but I usually put it on the first. So I will go with Meditation Amulet to get some more mana generation. A lot of Necromancers do this, while SirJason goes with a Fire Ring and takes a chance to Fire Stream my graveyard and rolls only 1 damage. I want to stress this here because his plan was to kill the graveyard or focus on the graveyard, and this roll of 4 below average, I think I even looked it up, it's something like you have 89% to deal more than 1 damage, so this was one of the 2 worst outcomes out of 100 situations for him right here with the first roll. This first roll versus the graveyard, he doesn't get a burn. Okay, the lowest to roll anyway, but the graveyard is even burn proof, so you can't get burns on it. That roll, I think he was hoping for a good roll here to take the graveyard out quickly, but with that one he spent 5 mana to deal 1 damage to the graveyard, which is a very bad trade for him. So for the next round I will start with 13 mana because I played a Meditation Amulet for 4, going down to 0, and then meditate straight away for 3. So right here we see my mage having a blur, but I have not revealed it yet. Basically, blur is usually a very strong card on a Necromancer, and I'm trying to play some mind games with SirJason here because we have played a lot, and usually you want to reveal your blur just so your mage cannot get teleported, cursed, or thrown around somewhere. And also, if it's still hidden, you can snipe it with a Seeking Dispel, but once it's revealed you need to go in range 1, so directly into my zombie zone. This is also the reason why I like to go 1 up with the Necromancer, because then you basically generate yourself a defensive position in which your opponent needs to somehow get very close to your zombies in order to target your mage anyway. Somehow. Here I put a curse on SirJason, and I have 4 mana alongside with that. So I could reveal a Mage Bane, I could reveal an Enfeeble and other goodies. Here we see the Firestorm, which is maybe I should stress this round a little bit more. Usually what you don't want to do with your Warlock or any mage, as long as you have 0 armor, you don't want to walk straight into brutes, because they deal a lot of damage against damaged targets, which is 6. So they're probably the cheapest creature. I think so, yes, they're the cheapest creature to get 6 dice on the board, and they're very healthy with the Resilient trait and 10 life. So what you really don't want to do is to make them able to hit your mage. They are bloodthirsty, so they need to attack damaged targets. So what SirJason does here, he deploys a Sanguine Hunter, which has very good stats for 3 mana. It has 2 dice piercing 1, which is okay, especially for a level 1 creature. Level 1 creatures usually have 2 dice or 3 dice, and 2 dice piercing 1 is arguably almost as much as 3 dice in a lot of cases. And then he has 1 armor, 6 life, which is also on the upper side for level 1 creatures, and he only costs 3. The downside here is that he needs to place 2 direct damage on a friendly creature in his zone. He can always target himself, because he also has a friendly creature. But in this case he chooses to damage the Firebrand Imp, moves the Firebrand Imp into the zombie zone, so the zombie has to attack him and cannot do whatever he pleases to do, because he's forced with the Bloodthirsty. And then the Firebrand Imp is in the zone with the brutes. This also makes it so that the brute cannot move out, because he's forced to stay in the zone. Otherwise I could go back guard or attack something in this zone. And then he goes with the Firestorm, which attacks everything in the zone, and his Firebrand Imp has a flame immunity, and he gets 3 hits off with the Firestorm. The attacks are versus the graveyard and then versus the 2 brutes. If you want to follow it in the chat, the graveyard gets 4 damage and no burns. No burn, and the zombies get 2 and 1 damage, and both get 0 burns. So this is definitely not something you hope for in SirJason's position here. Pure dice wise, the rolls versus the zombies were okay-ish / average, but way on the they dealt way more normal damage with which the zombies just ignore. So arguably this attack spell went rather bad for him too. The only upside from this Firestorm he can take right here is that he damaged both brutes, and because of that he will get 2 mana on the Pentagram. And here in the planning phase we actually see the burns, or the burn on the zombie even gets removed. I think he got that on with the Firebrand Imp. So in these first 3 rounds I am getting very lucky with the dice rolls. My brutes should on average have more damage and potentially even burns, as should have my graveyard. More damage, not the burns, because you can't burn it, but you get the idea. So here I'm still feeling pretty lucky, and I do what a Necromancer does best and get another brute out. So this is also now a very interesting turn, because last round I had the mana to reveal my curse, but choose to do not, just to irritate my opponent, and this basically wins me an action here. I sacrifice 1 damage to get a potential action, and it works out here. So he's very sure that it is not a Mage Bane. We spoke about this after the match even. So what he does in this turn, you see him having 2 mana left, is a wall and a Seeking Dispel. But I reveal the Mage Bane now, and this makes him unable to use his second action. It doesn't make it so that he cannot use his Seeking Dispel, and so he will guard here. So by generating myself the opportunity to reveal the Mage Bane last round, but not revealing it even though I could, just for 1 point of damage. I usually try to get 2 damage in the first reveal, but I had to decide whether I wanted the 1 damage for the Firestorm, because he went down to 0 mana last turn and only cast the Firestorm, or to just keep it hidden and try to surprise my opponent next turn. In this game, especially because I played versus SirJason a few times already now, I tried to do something different and go for the surprise factor rather than maximum efficiency, you could say, with the 1 extra damage. In this case it worked out, so especially if you fight the same opponents multiple times, potentially even with the same decks, what I can highly recommend is to shake things up and do it differently, so you won't get too predictable. So my plan in last turn was actually to get Stench of Death in this Pentagram zone, because the Pentagram can only summon living creatures, and the Stench of Death gets extra damage on living creatures, and the Stench of Death is basically in my deck to generate or to give myself an even bigger advantage in a spawn point centered game, because I try to just throw it down on the enemy spawn point when I get a chance. This does not force me to play the Idol of Pestilence to trigger my Bloodthirsty on every creature. It's basically a cheap Idol of Pestilence and enabler for Bloodthirsty on my opponent's creatures. So in this turn I will reveal the Blur in the deployment phase. So my opponent does not want to move 1 and teleport me somewhere, because you cannot reveal the Blur during an action phase. So as soon as he flipped his action marker, I cannot reveal the Blur. So this is why I chose to do it in the deployment phase. And because it was his initiative, he moved down last round, that gives him the potential to move 1 and teleport me 2 spaces over here out of my zombies, and I want to stay safe, so I chose to reveal the Blur right in this turn, get another defensive enchantment on my mage, which is Regrowth. I'm just investing a little bit of tempo into the future here for potential hits, because I don't think that I need immediate power right now. 1 brute takes down the wall, and the other brutes will go forward into the other zone. I took down the Wall of Bones with 3-4 dice hits, so that it was perfectly average. Was slightly unfavored because I rolled one below average before, but this root that you can see up here rolls exactly the 5 damage that I needed, so I was even a little bit lucky here. So that makes it that my first brute can attack into the guard, and the second one can go and kill one Sanguine Hunter and generate me an extra point of mana. So while I would not have cared too much, let's put it that way, if the wall would have stayed up for yet another yet another brute attack, it allowed me to kill one more Sanguine Hunter and even get one more mana on my graveyard this turn. So when you're playing, I also suggest you to keep an eye out for these small advantages that you get, because in my opinion this is a game in which you can snowball small advantages. Yes, that's all I wanted to say already. So here I'm going with hide in the corner approach. I don't want to use the meditation amulet, but I try to get maximum distance between my opponent and myself, because he moved down. That makes me want to move up once. So now we have 4 zone difference yet again, and I will put down a defensive enchantment, because that I can always connect no matter what he does, even if he tries to hide or regroup or whatever, and get the idol out. For Jason, what he does here is to disperse the Mage Bane on him, going up to 2 damage, and then deploy a Regrowth Belt. This was already a 2-turn plan for SirJason, because with him dispersing the Mage Bane first and then going with the Regrowth Belt, that makes him so he can remove both damage points on his mage until next turn. And his plan was here to start the fight with the zombies, and what he wanted to do here is to walk in and punch and kill zombies, because then his mage would have been at 0 damage and my creatures would have to attack like the little guys, the hunters, or he could have even deployed another cheap block hunter that damages itself. So my zombies have to attack into the Sanguine Hunters, and he can try to focus some damage on my zombies and try to win the creature fight that way. But because I dropped the idol right here, his plan does not work as well anymore, because his mage is damaged 2 now, and my brutes therefore just gain the ability to ignore his little creatures and can just pound on the mage. So that gives me a potential 18 dice, 3 times 6 dice right here, which is half life from him here already. So that idol paid off, even in the way of destroying his next turn, or like interfering with his plans for the next turn, other than just dealing 3 damage each turn right now, because he had 3 living creatures out here. So if things would have went super well for me, of course I would have had 1 more damage on the Sanguine Hunter to kill it immediately with the idol. I do not here, so this is fine, because I was very lucky in this game already until now. But what it does create myself the opportunity to just ignore the Sanguine Hunter and either hit the Warlock or the Mageddon, because they're both damaged too, because the Sanguine Hunter will die on its own by the idol next turn. So this forces SirJason to guard with the Sanguine Hunter. So he cannot use it offensively because of the idol. In this turn I will get more creatures. I could afford a zombie, but I could like deploy a big zombie, meditate, and put another defensive enchantment on my mage. But here I will deploy the Shagosora. I like him because he can guard, he is not a pest, and he has 5 dice with 6 life resilient. I think he's strong on its own even if you don't play crawlers or any zombies for him to eat. His life is just a little on the low side, but it's still like decent if you compare it to a venomous zombie or something. And he is of course a level 3 creature, so if he dies as the first creature in a round, you get, or I get, 3 mana on the graveyard. But most importantly, a deploy of the Shagosora instead of my 4th zombie brute here leaves my mage at 7 mana, so that allows me to move one and use both Acid Ball and Rhino Hide to make me able to use both actions this turn, and gives me another option besides meditate and Rhino Hide myself. So here you see me killing the Sanguine Hunter even to generate more mana. I see that my zombie brute, my 3rd zombie brute, cannot enter the zone here. So then I just go with the long-term game plan, which is kill his small creatures, generate more mana for the graveyard, and limit his actions. So SirJason dropped the backup Wall of Bones to generate some distance between my zombies and his guys, and give him more time to whack on my zombies and get his pentagram going. So you can see here it is a very creature-centered fight, and we both try to kill the opponent's creatures. This is the turn where SirJason does a math mistake though, because he plays a block on the Mageddon and somehow miscalculated his mana by 1, so he cannot actually reveal the block. This is why my Acid Ball goes through. I get the 66% chance and puts two corrode tokens on the Mageddon, which is valuable to me, and the brute has to attack the Mageddon. Dealing below average this time. I'm not complaining, I just want to point it out. All fine. Dice rolls have been very fortunate for me to this point still. So all in all, this was yet another good round for me. I dare saying the Mageddon is a very powerful demon. You get a level 4 creature for only 6 dice, for only 6 mana. He has 5 dice and is elusive, but the first 3 turns after you cast him, he cannot do anything, and in each of these first 3 turns you will lose 2 life. So you basically pay 6 mana and 6 life for this creature. I like the concept of Mageddon, but I'm not too sure about the power level he is at. He's definitely good for shorter games, and we have even seen a Forest Master a few years back who played Mageddon. She plays triple spellbook points for him, so she plays 12 spellbook points and 6 life, which is a high investment, but she sacrifices long-term value and life for short-term power, and this goes back to my philosophy with snowballing out of the game. So you want to generate a lot of dice early, usually. Try to gain the creature advantage to snowball later. So we see yet another deploy Firebrand Imp from SirJason here, and now with the lash and attacking Brute. He gets average dice but no burn, I think. Yes, no burn. That is slightly unfortunate, but 3 critical damage with 6 dice is about to be expected. I am just trying to get the creature war going. I snipe or kill another Firebrand Imp, generate more mana on the graveyard. I don't deploy from the graveyard this turn. We can attack. Rolls also pretty well. 3 critical hits on the zombie. And now my Brute does what brutes do best, absolutely murder people, and yeah. It's a very good roll. I killed him again. I didn't even want to. To kill him this turn, I rather would have wanted to get him going next turn, or kill him next turn to generate 4 extra mana, because he's a level 4 creature. And here I have a lesser teleport, so I could teleport the Stegosaurus over there. But I try to go with a long-term strategy here, generate more mana and a rust. So I have some very expensive spells in my Necromancer. Besides a lot of mana, usually also gives myself the opportunity to just revive the Eternal Servant Brute. This is something you should very often watch out for when you're playing against a Necromancer, to try and kill the Brutes or the Eternal Servant when your opponent has not enough mana to revive them. Alternatively, you can just kill the Eternal Servant with a creature that has the Devour attack trait, because that also makes it impossible for your opponent to revive the zombie brute. But it is just a big value when you can revive a zombie brute, especially with the graveyard, because then I save or generate 3 mana for my graveyard basically, and I save in action by resummoning him with my hero power or mage ability. And this also gives the mage a very high sustain in the long run, because I can have up to infinity zombie brutes in my book, of course. I'm going to deploy a Grey Wraith here, because he can teleport through walls, and the Lash of Hellfire is a very high investment into melee attacks. So I want to get some weak tokens going. He throws a fireball at my zombie brute, wishing to deal 3 damage, but low rolls again, so the brute survives. Kills an imp, so I get 1 mana on the graveyard, and now he kills the brute, of course, with his main action. So now I would have gotten the 3 mana, but you only get mana for the first creature dying each turn. So I arguably missed out on 3 mana last turn and 2 mana this turn because of the Megan and the zombie brute, which would have gotten me 4 and 3 mana, but I got 1 and 1 for the level 1 guys. But here I am just trying to play the super long game, so I will kill his creatures, I will curse and weaken his mage. I have even a curse of weakness here, so he will start the next turn with 1 week from the curse of weakness and a potential another week from the Grey Wraith. While I only used 1 action last round again and meditated once more. So I am trying to keep enough mana to instantly revive the zombie brute, which is probably not going to happen in this game, but it makes it so that SirJason really does not want to attack into the Eternal Servant brute, and just by sacrificing this one turn of power and keeping above 11 mana every turn, this makes it so that I can basically give my brute immunity and my opponent doesn't attack my brute, and in this game I think that is worth it. Sometimes you want to spend the mana rather on yet another brute to get more dice and power going on the field, but not for me in this game. I revealed the Curse of Weakness and put on weak on him, just because melee attacks are a threat, especially if you have the quick melee attack spells, and I don't want him to move anywhere this turn, so I will put a Tanglevine on his mage. He can of course like kill it with fire attacks, but I don't really care. Just want him to stay in the zone so my Wraith and the Shaggoth and the other two zombies can hit him, of course. So Jason tries to kill the brutes with a melee attack and a fireball. Falls short by just a little yet again, so it's very unfortunate for him. Here the brute deals 6 more damage than he should have. My Grey Wraith comes in dealing 4 damage, 1 weak, so man of the match so far. Best dice rolls. I have a Theft of Life here, but instead of getting that one out, I will just go meditate again, get more mana, and in this turn all my 3 zombies will attack him and put him to above 20 damage, I think. I'm not too sure. This one hits for 6. Shaggoth hits for 5 damage, or 5 dice of damage. Rolls 5 damage, gets my opponent to 23. So next turn, SirJason will heal 2 from the regrowth belt, and 1 damage from the Out of Pestilence will get put on extra, so he will stay at 22. I could use my mage ability to deal 1 more damage. I have plenty. I'm not too sure if I do it here. We'll have to see. But this here is also an example of where you don't need to get rid of a regeneration or regrowth belt on your opponent. SirJason stayed at 0 damage for quite a long time in this game, but he is at low armor, basically 0 or even -2 because of the rust. It's unfortunate for him yet again that he doesn't get the 66% kill on the brute here. It's just unfortunate roll after the other happening for him. And I'm reading through the upkeep effects in the planning phase here. Of course I need to play 1 for the Grey Wraith. I put my mana counter back to 26, so that means I add another weak token on him. So SirJason thinks that I use the ability first, but does the damage back and back to 22, and it adds a weak token instead. Now I finally decided on what to do this round. Lower my mana down to 25 and give him another point of damage via my ability. So basically the idol and my ability negate his regeneration. Here I am going with Unholy Reversal to counter the regrowth, so I don't plan to get rid of it in this match, but just to take advantage of it with the Unholy Reversal. And basically I kind of predicted that he would have teleported out 1 space, or 2 spaces, so I could have prepared a teleport on my own, but if he just wants to survive, he could just as well have teleported 2 spaces down here. And say put a nullify on himself or a wall or obscured or something if he really wanted to stay alive, and then even with a double move and a teleport I would not have come in range. So this is why I chose to go with Unholy Reversal and Reverse Attack in this time, because whatever he does I can either connect both spells, one on my opponent and one on myself, or I can just play the reverse attack on myself and meditate once more, or double move, while all my creatures follow. So I play the Unholy Reversal face up, because it works that way that it triggers only an upkeep, but when your opponent has a regeneration of 2 going and you cancel the regeneration and deal 3 damage instead, the way that we usually do this on Octagon is to treat it as if it would deal 5 damage directly, so the automation just regenerates 2 again, and there you go with the mage being at 3 more damage than he was in the previous turn. So instead of cancelling 2 and dealing 3, we just deal 5 straight away and let the automation regenerate 2. Again, just in cases where you would have gotten an immediate kill with 5 direct damage, of course, then you have to do it by the book, but this is the quickest and easiest way to do it if there would not be a kill involved by dealing 5 directly. So now we see that it's SirJason's initiative, and it's looking very grim for him here. He has 2 curses on himself. I have 4 defensive enchantments on my mage. He has 4 equips that help him in combat. To be fair, I have 0 equips that help me in combat. I think I have enough mana to even deploy another creature here, but that one really doesn't matter now. I have a Drain Life and a Teleport because I have so much mana. We see SirJason moving up 1 space, going for the Hail Mary Fireball, running into the reverse attack. Because of the Dragon Scale, he will attack himself here, and I don't even need to reveal the rest. That's game. I've also thought about this match quite some time, and I'm not too sure if SirJason had made too many mistakes here. For me, this game is rather a perfect display of how you can snowball little advantages that you get over the course of the game with a Necromancer, with your zombies, because they deal a lot of dice and take a lot of hits to take out. So good game to SirJason. This puts me on top of my group and probably advancing, and advancing the other 3 members of my group are all at 1 win, 2 losses. So there will be a tiebreaker. We will see how this works out. I wish everyone good luck in the tiebreaker, and thank you all guys for watching. This is it for today. Stay hydrated.